What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're here on the SEC channel at the Voice of College Football. Going to give you my Week 3 power rankings in the SEC, and we will start at the bottom. We've got Vanderbilt at number 14 and Missouri at 13. I think you can make an argument for Vanderbilt actually being ahead of Missouri. They played a pretty good Wake Forest team, hung in there, never really had a chance to win the game, but I thought Kansas State beat Missouri worse than Wake Forest beat Vanderbilt. So yeah, you can make an argument there, but for now we'll keep Missouri just ahead of Vandy. I'd like to see Vanderbilt play another quality team because their first two games were against pretty bad teams. Yeah, Missouri, Vanderbilt, clearly the bottom two teams. I think Auburn and South Carolina are in that next tier. South Carolina really struggling on the offensive side right now. They got a little bit of something going with Spencer Rattler really in that second half against Arkansas, and maybe that will give them some momentum moving forward. It's really all about the offensive line, I think, for them. For Auburn, it's all about quarterback play. TJ Finley didn't look great in this game. The run game wasn't great either, really. San Jose State played Auburn pretty tough. That was a close game. I think they were even up at halftime. So Auburn is struggling right now. We'll see how they do in a big game against Penn State on Saturday. Maybe they'll be locked in. They'll be focused for that one and get up for it. That'll be a real measuring stick, I think, to see where this Auburn team is. But right now, based off of those first two games, I'd put them at number 12. And again, I put South Carolina at number 11. We're trying to just rank these teams based off of what we have seen the first 2 weeks, not looking at all those preseason expectations, although most people had these four teams at the bottom of the SEC anyway, so not much has changed. There are some changes closer to the top, though, and we'll start here at number 10. Texas A&M 1-1, not just losing to App State, but getting almost bullied in this game. I mean, Appalachian State looked like the better team. It was not a fluke victory or anything like that. A&M really struggling. I said all offseason long that this team would struggle, especially early in the year, because they are just very, very young. You can have a lot of talent, and that's great, but they're still really young, and they lost a lot of really good players off of an 8-4 team last year. This is not like Alabama or Georgia, a team that's going to the college football playoff and then reloading. Texas A&M was not at that level. Then they lost a bunch of great players, and yes, they're bringing in a recruiting class that's similar to an Alabama or Georgia, but they don't have the great veterans there already in place. The guys already ready to step up, and that's why this team is just not going to be their year this year. They're too young. They don't have enough experience, and really the quarterback position is just not good for them right now. Haynes King not getting it done. I would expect to see Max Johnson in there pretty soon. I thought he would win the job. Haynes King has never done anything to really impress me. Very inconsistent as a passer. This A&M team has some issues for sure. LSU at number 9, they bounce back, get an easy win, but they do still have that loss to Florida State, and we saw some big-time issues, especially on the offensive line for them in that game. Big game against Mississippi State coming up Saturday. Really looking forward to that one. Bulldogs are off to a great start. You see, they are in the top 5 of these rankings. Ole Miss at number 8, they went with Luke Altmaier in this game. Played really well for them. I'm assuming he's going to be the guy moving forward. We'll see how that plays out. But they definitely look better. It was against a bad team, I know. We need to see Ole Miss play a quality team. Then we'll have a better idea of where they are. But right now they're at number 8. Florida's at number 7. Tough loss to Kentucky. But they do still have that win over Utah, and they looked really good in that game. Anthony Richardson, there's going to be some growing pains. He's not a polished, done product. He's got work to do. He's going to get there. He's a freak athlete. This team has talent. I said in the preseason that the starters for Florida could play with almost anyone in the country, but I was worried about their depth, and we saw that a little bit in this game against Kentucky. Tennessee with a big win over Pitt. It would look like a better win if Pittsburgh barely beat West Virginia, and West Virginia just lost to Kansas. So how good of a win really was this? You got to give them credit for going on the road. I thought Tennessee looked like the better team. I think Pitt was lucky to even force overtime in this game. But again, Pitt was playing with backup quarterback. So, yeah, Tennessee, are they in that top tier? It's just hard to say. Hard to say right now. And that's the thing with a lot of these teams. Like, we know about Florida. We've seen them play 2 quality opponents. We don't know about Tennessee as much, but we know they're a good team. Beating Pitt was very good, especially on the road. Ole Miss, we don't know about. So it's just hard to really rank these teams this early when you have so many question marks still. I've got Mississippi State at number 5. Very impressive wins for them to get the season started. Took care of business. Easy win over a pretty good Memphis team. Then they went out west, beat Arizona, an Arizona team that beat San Diego State. I've been really impressed with the Bulldogs. Both sides of the ball, they have looked like a top 10, top 15 team so far. Again, big test on the road at LSU coming up. I've got Alabama at number 4. I mean, based off of these first 2 games, no reason to put Alabama up at number 2. Arkansas and Kentucky have looked better. They have, better wins. Kentucky's win over Florida, winning by 2 possessions. Arkansas with wins over Cincinnati and South Carolina. Those are better wins, and Alabama really struggled against Texas. They've got some big-time issues. The offensive line is a problem. Wide receivers not getting open. Defense wasn't dominant like I thought they would be. They were really good. But even when Hudson Card was in there were receivers getting open for Texas. So you've got some issues if you're Alabama, and they committed a bazillion penalties in this game. I would assume they're going to clean that up. So I think Alabama still has the potential to be number 1 or number 2 on this list, but based off of where they are now and what we've seen in these first 2 games, I've got them at number 4, and I think you could even make an argument for Mississippi State being ahead of Alabama at this point. I'd like to see Mississippi State, though, play a more quality team. Yes, Arizona, Memphis, decent teams, but let's see them play like a top 25 team, which I believe Texas to be now. Kentucky at number 3. Weren't great in the first game, but they took care of business. And then this win on the road at Florida, that was big time. Kentucky looks like the clear favorite to be at least number 2 in the SEC East. Arkansas, just talked about it, 2 great wins for them. KJ Jefferson's looking great. Offense is looking really good. The run defense is good, but the pass defense not so much. That's where I'm concerned about Arkansas. They've given up a lot of passing yards the last couple of weeks. Especially in the second half of these games. I know teams are trying to come back on them, and maybe that's all it is, or maybe they do have some big issues. We'll find out in the next few weeks. I've got Georgia at number 1 because they're the best team, not only in the SEC, but in the country. I think anyone that is, unless the Oregon game was just a complete fluke and Oregon's going to be terrible, I don't think that's going to be the case. Oregon did bounce back this week, and they took care of business in a blowout win. Yes, against an FCS team, but still, they top 10 teams, top 25 teams, blow out FCS teams. Teams that are not good, teams that are, mid-tier teams, they don't blow out FCS teams. You see them usually having some closer games, maybe not like 1-score games, but you see those games that are usually more like a 20, 30-point win, but Oregon just absolutely destroyed their opponents. So I think Georgia, that win over Oregon, is a very quality win. And the fact that they just completely blew them out. The offense is ridiculous for Georgia. The defense has so much talent. It's young, but it is talent. It is athletic. This is the team to beat in the SEC, and they are once again number 1 in our power rankings heading into week 3.